Hello, my name is Sam Kwok. I'm one of the Kwok brothers, real estate investor, entrepreneur, and the author of the book Fire Your Boss. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to pay off your 30-year mortgage in less than 5 to 7 years without making more money or cutting back on your expenses. Now, you may want to stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to offer a free gift only for those who make it all the way to the end. You guys will get that free gift at the end of the video. This video, I'm going to explain to you a couple things. The first thing I'm gonna explain to you is why your mortgage, your 30-year mortgage absolutely sucks, why the other strategies, paying extra into the mortgage isn't necessarily the best strategy to go about it. I'm gonna introduce you to a strategy called the debt acceleration strategy. So the goal of the strategy, I'm gonna write down right here on the board, debt-free acceleration strategy. This strategy has many names. It's got names of mortgage acceleration, velocity banking, debt acceleration, pill method. There's so many different names. A lot of people use velocity banking. I like to use the debt-free acceleration because we want to accelerate you towards becoming debt-free. So the goal of this is to save you up to 67% of interest that you owe to the bank and saving you up to 67% of the time that you may spend on paying off your 30-year mortgage, which, by the way, this actually works on your student loans, your car loan, credit cards, any other debt that's amortized, not just mortgage. It works on pretty much any other debt. So that's the goal that we're gonna accomplish for this video. We're gonna take your mortgage, 30-year mortgage, and pay it off in third of the time and 30 interest, and that is the goal. Now, one of the things that we have to talk about is why do we need to use this strategy? What makes mortgage terrible, right? What's wrong with your current mortgage that we want to switch to a whole different strategy or get introduced to a different strategy? So first thing is that with your mortgage, I know your mortgage rate, interest rate may sound innocent at 3%, 4%, 5%, but let's say you have a mortgage of a balance of $250,000. That's our principal balance, okay? And let's say you have a interest rate of 5% at 30-year amortization. Okay, I'm gonna abbreviate that. Do you actually understand how much you're gonna end up paying in terms of interest? Like, a lot of people look at that 5% like, oh, it's just 5%, innocent, it's not gonna cause me any harm. But if you fully amortize this out on a 30-year amortization, you're gonna actually end up paying close to nearly almost double the amount. So this is just gonna be your interest and that's your principal. So in total, you may end up, and you can do this calculation on a amortization calculator. There's no trick, there's no gimmick. But if you get a $250,000 loan on a mortgage, 5% interest, 30-year amortized, you're gonna pay close to $250,000 in interest alone, which leaves you about total of $500,000 that you're gonna pay to the banks. So you essentially bought a bank another house on top of paying for yours, right? Which is terrible. So that 5% interest, guys, it's being compounded, right? It's not just 5% of that $250,000. It's gonna be a compounded interest, and you're gonna end up paying close to $250,000 of interest. Now, another reason why I don't like the mortgage, especially the 30-year mortgage, is this. I'm gonna draw out a chart for you. This is called the amortization schedule chart. And in this chart, this right here represents the time. So this is time, okay? And our goal obviously is to get to the 30-year mark. And I know a lot of you guys are saying, well, that's 30 years is a long time. I don't have 30 years. I'm gonna be dead by the time that I pay off my mortgage. Well, our goal is to pay off our mortgage within 5 to 7 years so that you can accelerate towards retirement. Maybe you want to take that extra cash flow and invest in real estate. I don't know what your goal is, but our goal in general is to pay off your 30-year mortgage. This represents the amount, your monthly mortgage payment. Okay, I'm actually erase the dollar sign. So this is represents your mortgage payment every month. Okay, let's say your mortgage payment is around $1,500 a month. Okay, I'm just gonna throw an arbitrage number. I know arbitrary number, not arbitrage. Arbitrary number. I know some of you guys have more in terms of your monthly payments. Some of you guys may have less. I'm just gonna throw a number out there for the sake of illustration. So this line right here, actually it looks different. I'm gonna make this nice and clean and organized for you guys. So $1,500 a month. roughly this line and this line, okay? This downward curve you guys are seeing here, that represents the amount of interest that you're gonna pay in the span of 30 years. The curved line that goes upward represents the principal payment. Now, you notice here that this portion right here, out of your entire mortgage payment, approximately, let's say, $1,200 a month in the beginning of your mortgage life cycle, vast majority of your monthly payment is going towards your interest first. So essentially, you're paying the banks their fee to borrow the money up front. They're getting paid first. And then towards the end of your mortgage, towards the 30-year mark, this is where you get to go and start paying off your actual principal balance, which is what we want, right? The faster we pay off our principal, the faster we can get to building our equity and wealth and becoming debt-free. Now, the problem with this is that it's okay that, if you have patience, right? If you can wait 30 years, you can ride this out completely fine. But in a real life scenario, there's two things that happen during the 30-year mortgage that pretty much sort of puts you in a perpetual debt. The first thing is what happens, this part right here, let's say, okay, this is your kind of a halfway mark. So let's say this is your 10-year mark. I know it's not quite half, but let's just, my drawing is terrible. So let's say this is your 10-year mark and you're starting to gain more principal, right? As you go towards the 30-year mark, you're getting more principal and you're paying less in interest. Now, there's two things that happen. The first thing that happens is actually a bit more common. You get to this point, your banker may call you, right? Ring, ring, ring. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Banker, congratulations, you made it to the 10-year mark. You're doing really great, not a single late payment. You're doing phenomenal, you're a great borrower. And for that reason, we wanna give you a refinance rate instead of a 5% interest rate. Come on down to our bank in our office and we'll give you a 4.75 interest. And we'll give you a discount of 0.25% interest. Come on down in so you can save money on interest. Or they may convince you and say, hey, let's go and bring down that $1,500 a month payment. Let's refinance and bring you down to maybe $1,350 a month, saving you an extra $150. Now, here's the truth, guys, and there's a reason why the banks want you to refinance. The banks never, ever want you to make it to this part here because why? Now they're making less interest and they're not making enough money from you. So what they want you to do is get to this part right here. When you start to make more money on the principal, when you start to accumulate more principal, they want you to come and refinance in the name of saving you extra $150 a month or more or less. Or they may convince you, say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Barr, let's go and bring your rate down to 4.75. Now, the problem is if you do refinance, you start all over back to square one to year zero. You have that 30-year time clock that resets, and you're gonna have to pay all this interest back again to none other than the banks. Okay, so the banks want you to stay in this zone right here because they can continue to recycle you back and forth, making more money out of you having a large balance, and they're taking interest from you. Well, it's just what banks do, right? They need to stay profitable. Now, you might say, well, Sam, I'm disciplined enough to not do this refinance. I know the refinance will reset me. Well, another thing that happens quite often, at least here in the United States, I know some of you guys are watching from Canada, Australia, England, but what happens here in the United States is that there's a new statistics that Americans have new job every 3 to 5 years, or they may get fired from their job or whatever. So there might be a situation where you get a new job. You may need to get a new job and you need to move and sell your house. Now, what happens if you sell your house and you buy a new one with a new mortgage? Do you get to continue progress from here, right? So you built up all this equity and you paid off, you've done paying off most of the interest. Do you get to continue paying off the remaining? No, right? So when you go and get a new mortgage, you have to, again, same thing. You start from square zero, from 0 years, and you get to 30 years, and it resets your clock. So you're sort of stuck, aren't you, right? You either have to refinance to get a lower rate or to save that extra money on that monthly payment, or if you have to move for a new job, career change, maybe your kids retire, you may have to downsize, whatever that may be, you don't get to continue your progress. You don't get to continue building that principal or equity. You have to start all over. So the 30-year mortgage, the odds are stacked against you guys, and this is one of the biggest reasons why I'm not a big fan of the mortgage. A, because if you, let's say you do have a 5% interest rate or even 4% interest rate, you're gonna end up paying close to double the amount of your original principal amount, and you have this disadvantage of having to refinance either because you have to move or you get persuaded by your banker telling you that you're gonna save money. Okay, not a good way to pay off, and I know most of you guys don't want to wait 30 years to pay off your loan, and I can't either. But luckily there's a better strategy, and there's a whole new opportunity where you guys can take advantage of this strategy called the debt-free acceleration, and you guys are gonna be able to pay off your mortgage within 1/3 of the time and 1/3 of the interest without having to make more money. So I'm gonna introduce you to a new instrument that we're gonna use, a new opportunity. Instead of using a mortgage, we're gonna use something called a home equity line of credit. Okay, home equity lines of credit. Now, home equity line of credit, it's often abbreviated and it's called HELOC. Okay, it's not HELOC, okay, it's HELOC. We're gonna use a home equity line of credit to pay off your mortgage. Now, I know there's a lot of objections that I get. You might be watching this video saying, well, why in the world would we ever wanna take a higher interest rate, variable rate, home equity line of credit and pay off our lower rate mortgage? I'm gonna get to that in just a sec, okay? But I wanna give you a distinction between a mortgage versus your home equity line of credit. The first thing that we want to highlight with the mortgage, it's closed-ended. And what that basically means is that once you make your monthly payment to your bank, you can't get that money back unless you, again, refinance, which we don't want. We don't condone any refinancing here. But on a home equity line of credit, it's open-ended. Okay, I just like the word open, right? Just makes you feel a little more ease. Open-ended means that you can pay into the home equity line of credit and then reuse the principal portion of the home equity line of credit and then pay it back, reuse and pay it back. It's almost like a credit card. In fact, your credit card is a type of a line of credit. So the first thing that we need to remember is that mortgage is closed-ended and home equity line of credit is open-ended. Cool. With the mortgage, it could be fixed rate or it could be variable, right? This is why we have this stuff called ARM. With the home equity line of credit, contrary to the myth and the common belief, home equity line of credit can also be fixed and variable as well. More often, what's more common is the variable, but there are banks that offer fixed rate HELOCs. I'm not gonna talk about that today because we can go in a whole different rabbit hole. But just remember these two things. When you compare home equity line of credit and a mortgage, there's a lot of different differences that I can list out today. But again, we don't have a whole lot of time to go into the details. I'll give you more of the overview of this strategy. Again, at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you a special gift that's gonna help you understand this strategy even more. To give you a visual illustration, let's say this is your checking account, okay? And you got your HELOC here. With the HELOC, you can go ahead and pay cash into the home equity line of credit, do a principal payment against the home equity line of credit, and you can get that money back out to use for other purposes. With a mortgage, because it's closed-ended, you can only pay the mortgage and not get the money back out unless you go through the refinance process, which we now know that we don't want to refinance because we don't want to reset our clock and pay all that interest all over again. So keep that in mind, guys. And what I'm going to do is going to put a star in this thing called the open-ended feature, the ability to be able to pay back and reuse the HELOC. That's probably going to be the most important part of this, or the feature of this strategy. The next thing that's really important to highlight with the HELOC is that it uses the concept of average daily interest. Some people call it simple interest. But the average daily interest is another big reason why this strategy works the way it does. So I don't like math. I know some of you guys don't either. But this is the only time you're gonna see math, I promise. So the way that the interest is calculated on a home equity line of credit is it uses average daily balance, okay? And average daily balance is the balance of whatever debt you have for that specific day. So let's say we have $100,000 in our home equity line of credit today. We're gonna have a set interest for today's balance, and tomorrow, let's say we have a completely different balance on our home equity line of credit. It's gonna be tomorrow. We'll have a different amount of interest depending on whether the average daily balance went up or the average daily balance went down. Okay. In fact, if I'm describing a specific day, I'm just gonna use daily balance. Average daily balance describes what the daily balance was as a whole in a month. So we're gonna go ahead and actually erase this and just simply call it daily balance. And how the interest is calculated is it takes the daily balance divided by 365 days, because that's how many days we have in a year, okay, times the interest rate of your line of credit equals average daily interest. Okay, so that's the interest that we're getting charged on that specific day. So if today we have $100 in the line of credit, divided by 365 times, let's say 5% interest, whatever that number might be is going to be the interest that we get charged today. Tomorrow we may have $125, okay? Obviously the interest is gonna go up a little bit because our daily balance went up. So 2 things to remember about the HELOC. And before we get to I'm gonna show you sort of a real life concept as to how this strategy is gonna work and why the strategy works. The first thing to remember is that the HELOC is open-ended, okay? Number 2 is the HELOC, the interest rate is calculated based on average daily balance. If you understand those 2 things, you're well on your way to understanding why this strategy works, and how you can apply this strategy to pay off your mortgage within 5 to 7 years. Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. I think this is gonna sort of prepare your mindset for how this strategy works. So what if you can go ahead and supposedly, okay, take all of your income and your savings and your whatever money you have in your checking account, throw every single dollar of it into the line of credit, a home equity line of credit, bringing down the average daily balance low so that you're subject to lower interest while still giving you the access to that same money, the income and the savings for future use. Some of you guys are like, wait, hold on. So you mean to tell me that I can go and take all my income and savings, lower down the average daily balance of my home equity line of credit, but I can still access that money in the future? Yeah, so let me give you a version of the strategy. I'm actually gonna show you 2 separate versions. The first version involves in having an income source. Okay, and traditionally what you guys have been doing is you've been taking all of your income and putting it in a checking account, or you've been putting it on a savings account. Okay, and savings account today don't really earn you much money, right? It's like 2%, 3% at best. So a lot of you guys have a mortgage, and let's say you have a mortgage of $200,000 balance. Okay, I know some of you guys have more, some of you guys have less. Stick with me here, this is just an illustration. So what this strategy involves as a more of a 30,000 feet overview is you're gonna get a HELOC, okay, as a second position of, let's say we have a limit of $25,000 limit. Remember, home equity line of credit works similar to your credit card. You don't get that $25,000 up front, you get a limit. So you can use up to $25,000, pay it off, use it again and pay it off. So what we're gonna do from here is that once you have your HELOC, your mortgage of $200,000, let's say, you got your checking account, your income coming in, one of the big things we're gonna do, the first move that we're gonna make, I'm gonna use red for this one, is take your $25,000, let's say we're just gonna use $20,000 out of the $25,000, and we're gonna do a principal payment against that mortgage. Now, the thing here is that we didn't incur more debt, guys. We just transfer one set of debt, a portion of one debt, over to another. So obviously it's no longer $200,000, we're down to $175,000 in terms of your mortgage balance, principal balance. I'm sorry, it should be 180 because we only used 20,000 of it, right? And we have $20,000 of balance incurred in the HELOC. So $180,000 plus $20,000, still $200,000. We don't have more debt. We're still at the same amount of debt. Now, what you're doing here is that when you do your $20,000 principal balance payment on the mortgage, you brought the amount of the principal balance down from mortgage, which now consequently, you're gonna pay less interest on your mortgage. By doing this should also save you multiple months. Depends on what the interest rate you have on the mortgage. It should save you anywhere between, it could be anywhere between 2 to 3 years that you save just by doing that $20,000 chunk. Does that make sense? So now we have $20,000 debt here, don't we? So what we're doing here is that we take our income, we go, instead of from checking account, we're gonna go straight into the HELOC, all of your money. Let's say you make about $5,000 a month. Take all of your money, put in your home equity line of credit, and treat your home equity line of credit as if it's your new savings / checking account. Let's say you have some extra money sitting in your savings, same thing, put it in your HELOC. Remember, we can reuse that money. We can go and pull money out of the home equity line of credit pretty much whenever we want. So the next objection I get from people is, well, Sam, if we take all of our income and put it in the home equity line of credit, how in the world are we gonna pay for our bills? How are we gonna pay for diapers, groceries, gas, go buy movie tickets? How are we gonna spend the money, right? If we throw all the money in there, we can't get it back. Well, remember guys, we can get the money back from the HELOC. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take money out of the HELOC for gas, groceries, right? Bills, diapers, you name it. All at the same time. You still do need to make your monthly mortgage payment, because obviously if you don't, you're gonna get into a foreclosure, and I don't want you to do that. So make sure you continue to make monthly payments to your mortgage to make sure you stay current on that. So what this does is two things. Number one, it brings down your average daily balance by the amount of your income, and number two, still gives you the access to that $5,000 of income for your expenses. So while the balance is down, let's say we take that $5,000, put it against that $20,000 balance, we're gonna be down to $15,000 balance. And remember how we talked about the average daily balance? The lower the balance we have, okay, we're gonna be subject to a lower interest amount for that specific day. Now, you're gonna have expenses, but chances are you don't have all of your expenses incur all at the same time the next day. So next day, chances are, once you make that $5,000 deposit into your home equity line of credit, chances are it's gonna stay relatively at the same amount of balance, right? Unless you go spend $100 or $200 at groceries. So let's say you do go and spend, I'm gonna put this in a chart format so it's a little bit more easier to see mathematically. So let me give you a week of example, a 7-day example. So we got day one here of $20,000 balance, and we bring it down by $5,000. We have an income. Let me just label this. There you go. Income of $5,000. Okay, you guys see that? So it brings down the balance. Daily balance. I'm gonna just use the word, write the letter B in there, and it's gonna represent balance. Our balance is gonna be $15,000. Okay. The next day, let's say we spent $100 for groceries, okay, or gas, or whatever you guys might be using. So our new daily balance is gonna be $15,100. Okay, that's day two. Day three, it might not even have room for all 7 days, so I'm just gonna use 3 days, but I think you guys will get it. Day three, we're gonna spend $500 on a car payment or whatever. That should bring our balance up again to $15,600. Now, if I do the math on the interest side of things, let's say our interest is 5%, or let's make it a little bit more realistic, 6% interest on this line of credit. I'm gonna actually grab my calculator and show you guys the actual numbers and on the interest. Okay, so brought my calculator out. So we got $15,000 as our daily balance times, or I should divide this by 365. Okay, times 0.06, which is our interest rate. Okay, our interest that we're gonna pay is $2.46. Okay, let me actually use red to highlight the interest. $2.46. The next day we incurred a balance increase of $100. So I'm going to take $15,100 divided by 365 days times 0.06, right? Our interest went up to $2.48. So you guys get the idea, right? Every day the interest is changing. But what if we kept the balance at $20,000 day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6? Right, we would continue to pay that $2. I'm sorry, it should be higher than $2.46. You would actually be paying $20,000 divided by 365 times 0.06. You would actually be paying $3.28 as long as you carry that balance of $20,000. But you can see why bringing that balance down to $15,000 using all of your income, your savings, we save that I mean, I'm gonna guesstimate and say about $1 and a couple cents, right? Actually, it's less than that, less than $1. So it's saving. I know less than $1 doesn't sound a lot, but if it adds up in multiple days and it compounds, you're gonna end up saving a lot of interest. Version 2 of the strategy, now that you guys kind of get the idea of why the average daily balance is so important, version 2 involves in taking your entire mortgage, let's say of $200,000 balance, using the same example, okay? And instead of getting another HELOC, what we're gonna do is, this is called the first position HELOC strategy. We replace the entire mortgage with a HELOC. So you're replacing your mortgage with the HELOC, and you're essentially the same thing from there. You take all of your income and your savings, throw it into the HELOC, lower the average daily balance down, all the while you can spend that money out of your HELOC for expenses and so on. Cool? All right, so the strategy, that's pretty much just the strategy. I mean, we can go into the details of what to do with credit cards, what to do with if you have multiple different mortgages. We can go into all that. Unfortunately, we don't have all the time in the world, but what I'm gonna leave you with is the free gift. What I'm gonna give you is an Excel sheet calculator where it's gonna show you guys where you can punch in your own numbers. So you can put in your original balance, your current balance, your interest rate on your mortgage. You can put in your line of credit information as well as your income, your expenses, and it's gonna spit out the result of how soon you can pay off your mortgage, how much money you're gonna save using our strategy, as well as a target deadline for the payoff period. So you can go and get this free ebook. I'm also gonna check the free Excel sheet. I'm also gonna even throw a free ebook in there for further explanation on how this strategy works. So that's chopmymortgage.com. So if you go to chopmymortgage.com, all you have to do is fill out your information and then we'll give you a free Excel calculator to go and punch in your numbers, figure out why the strategy works, how the strategy works, and we're also going to give you an ebook. I'm also, after you get the free ebook and the calculator, you guys are going to be asked to participate on an 1.5-hour training session where I'm going to go deeper into the strategy. I know we spent the last few minutes going over the 30,000 feet overview. Well, for the 1 hour and 30-minute video, I'm going to actually go into details. I'm going to actually use the calculator, show you the math, show you the Excel sheet, and really show you why this strategy works. What does it look like on a daily timeline? What does it look like on a monthly timeline? How much are we actually saving? We're gonna go into the more details on how to work this strategy in your current situation, whether you just have a mortgage, a student loan, etc. So go to chopmymortgage.com, guys. Go and download the free ebook as well as the Excel calculator. One thing that I do want to note is that the Excel calculator only works on desktop, laptop, and tablets, not yet on the mobile phone. We are working on that feature. So the calculator is absolutely free. You're not going to pay anything. Trust me, there's no gimmick in that. Just go to chopmymortgage.com, get our free ebook, attend our free 1.5 hour training where I'm going to go into deeper level as far as why this strategy works, how this strategy works. And again, this is for debt acceleration strategy, also known as HELOC strategy, velocity banking, mortgage acceleration. There's different names to it. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video, the 1.5 hour presentation, as well as having you download the calculator. I'll see you guys in the next step.